Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé bears all. Let's watch. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. As I always say, everything that I say is speculative based on very little information. So keep that in mind. Let's watch.
We would have just said, okay, that was a good time together and moved on.
Biniyam, do you think that you and Ari would be together if you did not have a child?
Actually, yes. Even we don't have baby, yeah, this relationship, I think they continue.
Interesting question that they're asking, Ari and Biniyam, that would you be together if you hadn't had an unexpected pregnancy? And for Ari, she's saying, I don't think so. I think that it would have been a nice relationship, a fling, if you will, but I don't think we'd still be together if I didn't get pregnant. And then Biniyam is saying, yeah, I think we would be together. And for Ari, does she mean, well, I think circumstances would have made it so that we wouldn't be together, but I'm glad that I am with him. Or is she saying, well, if we hadn't gotten pregnant, I think I would have left him, and I think I'd be better off without him. I don't know what Ari is saying. Sounds like what Biniyam is saying is, kid or not, I love her and I want to be with her. It sounds like that. Or he knows that if he has any ambiguity to his response, that she's going to pick up on that and get very triggered by that due to her attachment insecurities.
I feel like I love you, Biniyam. I love you, baby, so much. But you need to take responsibility for your actions. You need to apologize to the people that you hurt in this life. You need to be a man. You need to say, I'm sorry. You need to focus. You need to decide what's important to you. I have so much.
Why you get mad now?
All right, so I didn't show all the clips, but they brought on Biniyam's ex-girlfriend, his dance partner, and they were talking about how they were in a relationship for a number of years, and he was actually her student, her dance student, and then they were in a relationship and then dance partners. And she said she got sick and was out of the area for a while. And then when she came back, she found that he had called her and said he was in a new relationship. And for her, the ex-girlfriend, she thought, oh, I thought I was still with Biniyam. And Biniyam was like, no, we were on a break. So it's one of those ambiguous breakups, or at least ill-communicated breakups. And then he was saying that his ex-wife, that's who he was with after Seong, and after just a couple weeks of dating this American woman, she was pregnant. And then what Ariela is saying is that the ex-wife was this other American woman, was highly religious and demanded marriage. They got married, and then very quickly Biniyam's involvement in the clubs was very triggering to his ex-wife. She would get very upset about it, and he's talking about that. Then Ariela says, look, you, my husband of mine, have to, or fiance of mine at this point, are they married? I keep forgetting. I don't think so. Right? Anyway, so Ariela says to Biniyam, you have to take responsibility. And speaking down to him, really, as a mother would to a child, which, you could say that Ariela is wise or right-headed, but it's the tone, which is a pattern. What would be a different way to put it? She could say, and I think for Ariela, I think partly she is concerned about Seong, the ex-girlfriend, and wanting her fiancé to treat this woman well, which is nice. I also think that for Ariela, she's concerned about herself, that this plays into worries that she has between her relationship with Biniyam, I think. So a different tone would be, honey, when you say this sort of thing, I wish that you would show more compassion for what you did to people. I know that you are a good person, but when I see the way that you come across to people, I worry that you're hurting people and not really showing people the real you, which is a compassionate, altruistic human being. and you don't say any of those things. You have to let those things out. You know, it's a different tone. It's still a little maternal in that way, but let's see what happens.
Talking.
Yeah, why you mad?
Baby, listen, you need to take responsibility for your actions.
Right. So one, this doesn't even have anything to do with Ariela, but I think she's making it about her because this is her complaint, which could absolutely be a viable complaint. I trust that Ariela is coming from some rational place here, but it's the tone. You know, you need to, people out there, anytime you are talking to another human being, even if it's your kids for that matter, and you're saying you need, anytime you hear the word need, it's not automatically a problem, but key in on that word and evaluate the tone and the message you're saying. What Ariela really means is, I would like you. That's a much different statement, right? You would make me happy if. I would love it if. You could make me feel more secure in our relationship if. I feel like it would be more fair if, you know, those kinds of things, rather than you need to. That's what a parent says to a child. You need to do your chores. You need to do your homework. But even in those contexts, it would probably, not always, you know, parenting, you got to cut corners sometimes, but sometimes you want to evaluate that message, you know, to a child. You're saying you need to do your chores instead of, you know, you could really make me happy and you could really make my life so much better and more easy if you did the chore right now, because I wouldn't have to be on your case about it and it would be done, and, you know, I could have a clean you know, people are usually motivated much more readily by those kinds of messages of, oh, if I do this, a positive thing happens, rather than if I don't do it, a negative thing is going to happen.
You stop pretending like you don't understand the bad behavior and the good behavior, because you're a grown man, baby. Until you do that, our relationship is never going to move forward.
Right. Exactly. She's not concerned, at least entirely, about Sion and the ex-wife. She's concerned about herself. She's saying, you need to take responsibility. You need to apologize to those people, because at essence, if not entirely, this is about her complaints with him. Yeah.
You can't control me.
I don't want to control you. I want you to.
Right. And so when you talk to people like that, now he has his own complementary, meaning that it fits well with, it's like the other side of the coin, in which he retreats and shuts down, which triggers her and causes her to be more maternal and more pursuing. And so what he's saying is, you can't control me. And because, right, even though he looks calm, it's possible that he's very distressed at the way she's talking to him right now. A more differentiated response would be, hey, wife of mine or fiancé of mine, I get where you're coming from, and, you know, I'll give it some thought. I don't like your tone, honestly. You're telling me I need to, as if you're my mom, and I don't like, you know that you do that sometimes. I don't like that. But the message that you're saying, that I need to take responsibility, yeah, everyone needs to, and I do too. And maybe there's some things that I need to look at. That's a more mature, more differentiated response that, one, is assertive, and two, will promote a lesser maternal response from her. Because if you show, as Biniyam, that you're in control and that you know what's happening while pushing back on the tone, then Ariela could say, oh, he's got it. I don't need to yell at him anymore. So if, you know, but the Biniyams of the world, the way they try to manage the Arielas of the world is to say, stop controlling me. But when that's all you say, you look like a child. Someone tells you, look, you're making mistakes here, and the tone is maternal, but the mistakes are kind of true. If you don't say, you're right, I am making those mistakes, but back off with the tone, you're my fiancé, you're not my mom, so stop with the tone already. It's fine that you want to point those things out, and I agree with you, by the way, but stop with the tone. If you don't say something, if you're just like, stop controlling me, that's what children say. You know, when you go to a 16-year-old and they haven't done their chores and they're smoking pot and they haven't done their homework, and you're like, you need to do your homework, and you know, again, maybe that's not the best approach with kids, but it often isn't, by the way. I worked with a lot. Anyway, point is that you're coming down and the kid's like, stop controlling me, even though it's true that they're smoking pot. It's true that they're skipping school. It's true that their grades are going downhill. And if the child, the 16-year-old, said, Mom, you're right. I am smoking too much pot, and I'm actually trying to work on that. 2, my grades are going down, and I don't like that, but I don't know what to do. But I am working on ways to try to remedy that situation. You know, some kind of mature response. And this is something that I would work on a lot with teens. Is there would be this feedback loop between. I'd try to get the parents to modify the way they communicated. Most parents have good. They're coming from a good place. They want what's good for their child, but the way they talk to the kids and the way that, you know, the things they emphasize in the child's behavior is often triggering to the child. And then, of course, the child participates in that system by acting like they don't care or acting like they don't agree with the parents when the parents are like, you don't agree that you need to get good grades? You don't agree that your pot use every day is a problem? But the kid is just saying that because all they're concerned with, like Biniyam right now, is back off. They're not concerned with like, well, is there any truth to what this person is telling me? They're only concerned with, I don't like this feeling, get away from me. And what that does to the Arielas of the world is they're like, but you're not hearing what I'm saying, and then it just continues.
To do the things that you want to do because you want to do them. I'm tired of the bullshit. I'm tired of the games. I'm not a little kid anymore. I need, if I'm going to have a...
I mean, this is interesting to see Ariela. They weren't even talking about Ariela. They were talking about Biniyam and his ex-girlfriend, his current dance partner, Sion. And Ariela is just going on this wild tangent, it seems. And I bet you there's some truth to her complaints. I bet you there's some rationality there, but it's the tone. It's the talking down. I mean, she's lecturing him like he's a little boy.
A man in the house that's helping me with the baby, he's got to be a man. He's got to stop playing games and running around.
ማትረጂኝ ከሆነ ማትረዳኝ ከሆነ የሚባለው ነገር እዚህ ጋር መቆም ያለበት ገባ አንተ መረዳት መቻል አለበት እሷ ልጅ ወልዳላለች አይደል እንዴ አንደርስታንድ አድርጋት. Right.
So the ex-girlfriend, the dance partner, is telling Biniyam to try to understand Ari's feelings better. That will help. And that's true. And I'm, glad she's put, that's half of the equation. If Ari were to shift her tone, that would also help. But one of the things I do with the Biniyams of the world is to, they'll be telling me about this or I'll be observing it, and I'll agree that it's unfair to be lectured by your spouse in this tone, in this way. And spoken to, you need to be a man. I mean, by implication, she's saying you're not a man, which I don't know if he considers that to be an insult, but it could be quite hurtful to some people. And what I'll say to the Biniyams of the world is, you're right. The complaint is rational. You're upset. You're hurt. It makes sense. And it makes sense you want to push back. But another way around this is to hear the feelings that your partner is not communicating, which is she's afraid and she's hurt about things in the past. She's worried about what's going to happen in the future. She feels like alone. She feels abandoned sometimes. She's not saying that, though, but that might be where she's coming from. And if you hear that through the lecturing, you can appeal and have compassion for that unspoken feeling, which can absolutely diminish the tone that Ariela has and give her more trust so she doesn't have to resort to the lecturing. She's resorting to the lecturing because she doesn't feel safe enough to be more vulnerable. That's usually what's happening. And we also have to wonder where Ariela got this lecturing style. We could absolutely see her mother being like this, right? All right, well, that does it for that episode. I want to thank everyone who has liked my videos or subscribed or hit the bell or commented. It means a lot to me. It really, really does. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.